that? We need music. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to LeTip of Hackensack Live. Today we have a treat for you. We're with Senior Vice President of Bond Street Mortgage, Craig Andriulli. And for those who don't know, LeTip is an organization of like-minded individuals coming together to help each other's businesses grow and flourish. And today we're going to get some tips and tricks from Craig of Bond Street Mortgage. So Craig, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I would add president.
Yes.
Also the president.
Oh, yes.
The Hackensack
our righteous leader, our fearless leader here from LeTip of Hackensack, the president. And we have a ton of stuff to share with, Bond Street and LeTip and so many things going on. So, yes, welcome to LeTip Live of Hackensack. We are live. See, there's so many mistakes and it's unscripted. We are live. So if you have a question, comment, or concern, you can put it in the comments section and we can answer it live with you today on LeTip of Hackensack Live.
Mm-hmm.
So how you doing?
I wanted to announce my candidacy for U.S. president as well.
Yes,
so that was.
I mean, you'd get a lot of votes, a lot more votes than the people that are running today. But yes, I would vote for you.
I would definitely count on all votes from our group.
Yeah,
that would be at least.
Yeah, you get at least 70.
Yeah, there might be a few
that are just jealous. They don't want to vote for you. But yeah, I'd vote for you.
Awesome. Well, no, I appreciate you guys having me on, and always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Take the time.
Absolutely. So let's dive into it. And the reason why we do this is to get to know you. So let's get to know you. So, Bond Street Mortgage, right? And doing mortgages. What made you get into that industry, and how did you start?
Oh, crazy story. So I was pre-law, and went to school with the intention of going to law school. So I went to University of Connecticut for a year, and then I transferred into Rutgers, and I graduated from Rutgers, full intention of going into law school, and got accepted to a law school, Hunter Law in Manhattan, and my orientation was set. And literally the night before orientation, I was like, I'm not ready to go back. So the night before, I basically told my parents, listen, I'm out. I can't do it. I can't do another 3 years, at least not now. And that was, I don't know, maybe a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And then that weekend I was out with some friends, and a friend of a friend had said that someone he knew was opening up a mortgage company at the time. This is in 2005. And so I went and met him, and history is history. And needless to say that the person that I met, he's one of my partners at the company. He's the CEO of the company. And so we've been together ever since. So that's what, nice. 18 years, somewhere around there. So that's nice. My mother cried for days, by the way. She goes, you're going to go to law school now to a commission-based job. And so that was interesting, but I never saw the downside of it. I always saw the upside.
Well, I mean, I like commission. I think that it drives you, right? And it helps you. I'm not fearful of commission. So why don't you touch base on that? Like, I feel like a lot of people are scared of commission, and I guess it gives them something like to fall back on and settle. Whereas if you're a commission-based job, you're always, got to be on top of your game. You always got to be moving forward. You always got to be working on yourself. So how's that been for you?
So, it's been great for me. I mean, my personality, I'm just never able to sit still. And so for me, it's been a godsend because I can channel my energy in a way that is productive monetarily, and also, in a lot of different ways. But I always say, when I try to explain it to people that come in and maybe interview, or, members of the company that want to switch over from salary to commission, there's no right or wrong answer. One's not better than the other. It's kind of, I think, more personality based. And, there's salary based mentality is more security based, right? So it's more built upon having security, knowing that you're getting a certain amount on a consistent basis. Commission based or entrepreneur, right? If you're opening your own company, I see it almost as the same thing. And so you're now reliant on what you're going to get from the time and energy you put into it, right? So you kind of reap what you sow.
Yeah.
It is not for the faint of heart. It takes a long time to build traction, but if you do the right things, I think the reward is huge. But I grew up, my parents, both were salary mindset. And, again, there's no right or wrong answer. It really just comes down to what makes you feel, what gives you the most, I guess, the clearest vision of moving forward in your life. Right. So I think it's a great thing. I never focused on what people weren't going to make or what I wasn't going to make. I was focused on that there's no cap, right? And that you can really make as much as you want. Just got to figure out how to do it. So
nice.
I tried to explain it to my mother. She cried for 3 days still. And it took me a while to figure it out. And, it's not without its struggles and, its ups and downs, but I think all in all, it served me pretty well. So,
yeah, I mean, I feel like society as a whole kind of like feels certain ways about certain, commission or salary and stuff like that. So, but you took the bull by the horns and you're doing great with it. So, what are some aspects of the industry that you like and help you thrive?
Well, it's definitely a relationship-based business, which I've always taken that stance, right? Just always excel beyond what like the competition's doing. I just kind of looked at it from a different perspective. I always said, well, what's everyone else doing? And then how do I differentiate myself in a way that whoever I'm working with from a referral source perspective and even a client, right? It's like, if they decided to go work with somebody else on a different transaction, or if they bought a home through somebody else and they used a different lender, I want them to think about it and say, wow, this was a downgrade. Like I want them to experience working with me and it be so much better that it kind of answers itself, So, and it's not easy to do all the time, right? I mean, it's hard to keep a high standard like that, but I think, we're on the right track and I think we're doing a good job.
I think you're also competitive. So I see that. I feel the same way. It's almost like, all right, you chose the other whatever. We're going to outpace you. We're going to work better than you. Like, we're going to make you regret that decision in a competitive way, in a fun, nice way. Not like we're going to crush you, but
I'm going to crush you.
I know, but I didn't wait for the show.
There's no
people
fun.
are watching.
There's no fun. There's no fun and nice working with
yes,
me.
yes. But I'm the same way. If I see someone like, oh, well, you missed out because we're the best in the business. You know what I mean? Like in a competitive way like that.
No, I'm a huge competitor. I look forward, to me, in a lot of cases, it's more about the competition. It's kind of the thrill of the hunt. It's trying to figure out a way to get better and on a daily basis. And it's like a constant, you never solve the equation, right? So I look forward to that part of it. I think it drives me.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Do want to remind you guys that we are live. So if you have a question, comment, concern, you can put it in the comments section and answer it live today with Craig Andriulli, Bond Street Mortgage. So what are some things that's going on in the industry, maybe some tips or tricks that you could share with our viewers?
Well, it's obviously a crazy market, and it could be discouraging to people that are shopping for a home because there's just very low inventory. Rates are much higher, right? Everyone's heard this a million times, so no need to kind of replay it. But that's the reality of the situation. But people still need to buy homes. People still need to take money out and do things with it. I mean, we just heard last week that I think total debt reached 17 trillion in the first quarter of this year, which doesn't include mortgages, right? So nationwide, $17 trillion in debt, which is a lot of credit cards and personal spending, which I think a lot of that is people are maintaining a lifestyle from 2020, 2021, having a lot more money and in hand and accessible. And so now they're trying to manage that lifestyle by putting it on a credit card. So to me, that's a telltale sign of, there's a lot of need for people to consolidate that and clean up a lot of that stuff, because credit cards are like 19 to 30% interest, by the way. So no matter how high rates are on mortgages, your credit cards are like 4 to 5 times worse. With that being said, people, like I said, still need to buy homes. So it doesn't matter what the market is. It just depends on what the need is. So it's not a broad-based question. I think people make a mistake thinking, about the news and, every relative that's telling them it's not a good time or not to do this and not to do that. The reality is you got to make a decision for yourself. And that decision means that, my lease is going to be expiring in 6 months and I'm not going to go pay, 20% increase on my lease. So I want to buy something, even though I'm paying more interest than maybe a higher price. That decision comes down to the individual. So the best piece of advice that I can give is forget everything else, just drown out the noise, talk to whoever you're talking to. Hopefully that's me. But talk to them about what your goals are, where you want to be, and what that looks like. Budget-based approach, needs-based approach, and then figure out how a home can fit into that. And makes it a lot easier.
And one thing that you guys do differently that's a huge plus is you look at things as a holistic approach and different aspects, and you're bringing people together in other fields to help your client. So why don't you go into that, like, how do you guys approach the home buying experience?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what, doing this 18 years and especially coming off a major refi boom, and it was a lot easier to get deals done in terms of volume, right? When rates were super low. It doesn't take any skill, by the way, for somebody to sell 2 3/4% to somebody that has 4.5%, right? So anyone could have did it. As long as you had a license, you could sell as many loans as you could talk to people during 2020 and 2021. The skill comes in when you're in a market like this and you're trying to figure out how to help people. And again, with the higher rates and with the prices and the complicated market that we're in. So I do, like you mentioned, I take a holistic approach, and I take a similar approach as like a financial planner would. I'm not a financial planner, right? I just make that clear. But the approach of looking at the entire picture for a person, not isolating or keeping the home purchase in a silo like 99% of people do. And looking at it in the bigger picture and really just factoring in as one of the steps in the many steps that people have in their head and, trying to get to an end game, and that could be 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road. I want to know what that picture looks like because I want to become part of it. And this home is one step in that journey. And, the more you know about what people want to do long-term, the easier it is for you to offer up suggestions that will get them there.
And I'm sure each part of the puzzle relates to each other. So if you hook someone up with like a financial advisor and they help them clean up their credit card debt, that's going to help them get approved for what you're doing. So like, I'm sure all this relates to each other. So bringing all these people and using a holistic approach and bringing the right experts there and basically developing a team for your client, I'm sure that just helps everybody, right?
It's crucial, right? So what we do in the financial services industry as a whole, all parts of it, what we do really, really bad is educate, right? Like everyone claims they educate their clients and all about education and yada, 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 right? You get all these pamphlets and you get all these, it's useless information from a lot of people. I look at that and say, well, we do a terrible job in really taking the person and working out a game plan with them and around them, right? So again, I'm only licensed in mortgages, right? And in New Jersey. So in order for us to have that holistic conversation, you need to know who the key pieces are and the key players in that person's life to help make that decision, right? Like if someone's going to go put $200,000 down on a home, well, that money's coming from somewhere, right? And so is it coming from assets that are currently invested with the financial advisor? Or is it coming from a checking account? Is it coming from a gift from, a family member? Well, there's repercussions of all those scenarios, and an accountant should be included in the conversation if it's a gift. A financial advisor should be included in the conversation if it's liquidation of assets, right? I mean, I want to know the people around that person. It creates stickiness, right? And then it helps me do, the way I go about my business, I then become a resource for those people around that client. And hopefully then we could work with more clients that way. So yeah, I think it's really important to have the team around you, and anyone that thinks that they're acting independently is clueless. But unfortunately, if you go on Instagram or you go on Facebook or whatever these days, everyone seems like they're a superstar, right? Yeah. They pretend like they're on the new auditioning for the next selling, what. And I look at it and say, it's not about the glitz and the glamour. It's about how many clients you can get to the goal line.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have some questions coming in. This one's from Vega. Hey, Craig, love your stuff on IG. Any tips on an efficient way for someone to stay up to date with shifting market changes and trends? Thanks again, Craig. I mean, first and foremost, you should be following Craig on Instagram because he's always putting tips and tricks up for you.
That's number one, Vega.
That is number one. But any other, ways to stay on top of the game?
So it's a good question. And I'm happy to hear that because a lot of people don't even ask that question, which is crazy. But in a volatile time like it is now, right, we're going through a lot of stuff, right? Like from an economic standpoint, there's a lot of stuff happening almost like a daily basis. So I would say you want to pick a periodical of choice, right? I'd say this to all my loan officers. I tell this to my investors. I deal with a whole group of investors that we on a quarterly basis exchange ideas, and I do a webinar for all of them on a quarterly to talk about the market and to kind of keep people abreast of what's going on. So what I tell them is the same thing that I'm going to say to you, Vega, is subscribe to a periodical that you can trust, right? Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, CNBC, a financial periodical. You just subscribe to the website and just take, even if you on a daily basis in the morning, scroll through, read the headlines, and then open up the article and just kind of breeze through an article that you think could apply. If it's specifically about the home buying process, the real estate market, you'll know certain things will pop up and, you'll pick out the headlines that'll be meaningful. But just that, I mean, at the base level, if we all took 5 minutes a day just to do something like that and just get some knowledge on stuff we didn't know, then that's number one, because it's up to you, right? You're not relying on somebody else. And then aside from that, to go even further, you want to enlist the services of people that you can trust, right? That you can call and say, hey, you know what? I know you may not have 20 minutes right now to just kind of kick around some ideas, but let's schedule a time to go over some ideas that I have so you can tell me the best way to go about it. So I would say a combination of those two things. Those people should take the time. That's what we're here to do. We're not here just to sell things, so I would suggest reaching out to me and I can help you with that if you'd like. But I would certainly recommend some financial periodical that you could trust.
Yeah. So first and foremost, you guys should all be following right there on the screen. See Andriulli. That's his Instagram account. So you can also get tips and tricks. But based on what Craig is saying too, I feel like a lot of people it's all word of mouth. Oh, the market's this, the market's that. And it's all just people like rumors where they're not doing the research themselves to see what works for them in particular.
Well, I'll tell you what, and just on that point, the conversation that I have on a daily basis, which applies to exactly what you're saying, it's, we need to all stop and slow down. Let's control what we can control, right? Like, until you or I or someone on this live stream is going to be elected as the next Fed chairman, I don't think anyone here is going to have a say in where rates are going and what the overall economy, macro, all these macro issues that are currently happening around us. So let's worry about what we can control. I mean, it's like the easiest piece of advice. Just stop. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about what you want, and let's figure out how to get it. And that could mean tomorrow that you do something. That could mean 2 years down the road. There's no right or wrong, right? Let's just build it.
What's right for you. So I hope this is a good question because I don't know the market like you do. But are we maybe, because everyone's worried about conditions and rates, have we been a little spoiled? Because I hear my great grandfather, his percentage was 7 to 14. So aren't we a little the pandemic kind of spoiled us a little bit? So where we are now is not as crazy as what people are making it out to be?
Everything is perspective, right? So listen, would we love to be at 3% again? Absolutely. Right. So if you're in the mortgage world, you tell me one person in this business that wouldn't want rates to be 3%. Right. So every single one will tell you the same thing. Here's the difference. It's not going to happen. Right? Let's just be real about it. So what I tell people every day when they ask that question, oh, these rates are so high, when are they going back down? I say, listen, if you look at historical trend, rates have gone below 4%, probably 2 times, maybe 3 throughout history, right? Since they started measuring the 30-year fixed rates, which I think is 1971. So if there's 3 times, maybe 2, but let's say 3, that rates drop below 4%, that tells you that's probably not the norm. Now let's look at the current situation. Inflation, right? We've all heard this story for probably 2 years. The reason that inflation is so bad is largely due to the fact that the borrowing costs of everything was so cheap, right? It was almost nothing, right? So Do I think that rate should be 2 to 3%? Absolutely not. It's unhealthy, right? We're dealing with the ramifications of that. Do I think that rates could find a way down somewhere in the 4s and 5s? Absolutely. I don't have a crystal ball, nor do I have the power yet, right? Because I'm not Fed chairman. But I can tell you that 6% or there and around is still probably in the lowest historically. Average rates historically are anywhere from 6 to 8%. Not that we want to be that.
But we're spoiled. We're a little spoiled, and we think that it's going to go back down, but it's probably not when our generation before us was like 7 to 14 or whatever, right?
It's not the norm. Let me repeat that. Low rates are not the norm, right? So rates should not be like, you know how I turn this question around? I say, Doug, if you came to me and complained about, I can't, I got to wait because rates need to be back in the 2s and 3s. This is way too high. And I say, Doug, if I came to you and you were the bank, let's say you had an extra $1 million just sitting there doing nothing. And I said, Doug, I'm coming to you. I want to buy that house for $500,000. Would you lend me $400,000?
Would I lend you $400,000? Sure, if I got an extra $1 million in the bank.
So at $4 million.
This is a trick
now,
question.
what if I said, would you lend me $400,000, but 2 to 3%?
I mean, I'm lending you the money.
Yes, you're the bank.
I want to get as much money back as I can.
Right. So 2 to 3% is probably not the best, right?
No.
You could probably get better than that if you really chose the better borrower that would be willing
and you have
to pay.
So many people that want the money.
Right. So why would and I'm using you as an example, right? But like, why would I ask this question to many people? Every one of them said no. I would not lend it at 2 to 3%. But yet we are expecting the banks, to be fair, to lend at 2 to 3%. Just put yourself in the bank's shoes. Banks don't make money at that spread, but it's also not realistic. It's just, again, look at the aftermath of what we're dealing with in the last year and a half. It's not pretty.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
So here's the answer to that. So don't worry about rate, worry about budget. Budget-based approach, right? Let's figure out what your budget is, regardless of rate, and figure out then how that we reverse engineer that and back it into what the price, taxes, down payment, rates, all that stuff. Take the budget approach.
And that's why you approach it with a holistic approach, so you could see everything that's going on.
Full circle.
So, like I said, we are live. And you can ask a question just like Brian did. As a young adult who will be hoping to own a home within the next 10 to 15 years, what are some things I could do now to help set myself up as best as possible in the future?
10 to 15 years, I might not be here because I've worked pretty hard and my hair is I think I'm starting to get a little bit, I'm graying. So, but let's hope I am. And in 10 to 15 years, I would tell you that, listen, it's all about a plan. I said earlier, game plan is crucial. I don't care if it's 1 year, 10 years, 20 years. Start building the plan. I know this sounds cheesy, but I'm going to do like a little Les Brown, which is like the difference between a dream and a goal.
I like it.
Is that a dream just stays a dream. A goal is something that you actually put a plan together to get to.
I like it.
Right. That's the difference between the two.
I like the cheesy stuff.
So I tell anyone, whether it's 15 years down the road, 10 years or 1 year, the plan is crucial. So start laying out what you want. And then someone could be real with you about what you need to do to get there. So first thing is put the plan in place. And then secondly, you start analyzing piece by piece what needs to be done. That's the best approach I can give you.
Awesome. And some of the things, because I know some of these answers, some of the things is like, let's do some, maybe a couple do's and don'ts. So like, you don't want to open up a credit card, like right before you put your application in, like what are some of the things that I know you use them as tips and tricks. What are some things that people like Brian, who's expected 10 to 15 years, he shouldn't be signing up for every credit card. He goes to the Apple store, Best Buy, opens up the Best Buy card, has an Express card. Yeah. Like if it's a store card, don't apply.
Stay away from store cards. Yeah. Store cards are like they are, if you want to drop your credit score, open up a few store cards, right? Because it's considered an impulse buy, right? So the way that credit works is different credit accounts are weighted differently based on what it's secured against, right? So, if it's secured against a tangible asset like a mortgage, generally speaking, rates will be better, or a car, rates will be better versus a credit card or personal loan is secured against your person, right? The faith that you're going to pay that back. So there's always going to be higher rates associated when it's not secured against something tangible. But when it comes to store cards, when you just walk up to the register and they say, oh, you can get an extra 15% off, if you just sign up now, don't do that. Right. Listen, I've done it in the past myself, not going to lie. But when you realize those will ding your credit immediately, because not only are you opening up a new credit card, they're running the credit, but you're in most cases maxing out what the credit limit is to buy those pair of shoes, right? Or those sneakers. So not only are you taking out an impulse account, you're doing it. Let's say the limit was $1,000 and you borrowed $900 to buy what you were going to buy. You're now overextending that card, essentially almost maxing it out, which is bad. And then you got an interest rate that's probably, 29%. So there's nothing good that comes out of it. Unless the plan was to pay it off the next day, which in that case, I would still tell you not to do it, because it would actually hurt your credit.
So is there a thing to help you build your credit that people should think about doing, whether they like open up just a card to build up their credit, or like that's the don't do? Is there something that someone could be doing to help?
There's a lot of different stuff. It all depends on the individual's credit, right? Like what they have in terms of established credit, or if they don't have established credit, if they have some bad stuff from the past and all that stuff, right? So the individual report matters. So each person will have a different result. The best thing you can do if you have bad credit is try to open up secure credit cards, where if you go to your bank, right, and you say, hey, I want to open up a secure card, they'll secure it against your bank account. So it will show on your credit report as a credit account, but because it's secured, you'll get credit for it. And it's a limit against your bank account. So it's a tangible thing, right? Yeah. I always tell people that have bad credit and they want to start building good credit. That's a good thing. Secondly, again, you want to avoid all the store cards. If you're going to open up a major credit card, make sure it's a major credit card, right? So, your Visas, your Amex, your Discovers, that type of stuff. So don't go to PC Richards, right? And try to get the TV for nothing out of pocket. But I would say opening up major credit cards and secure credit cards at the bank, and just, I know this sounds simple, but just you have to rectify the stuff from the past, right? People that have credit cards that never were paid because they were in college and they didn't think it needed to be paid, and now they just let them kind of sit in there in charge off status or collection status. That stuff doesn't go away, like it just doesn't fade away. So at some point you got to kind of pay the piper. I'm not telling you to do that. I would say you want to seek advice before doing so, because sometimes you could hurt yourself more by just starting to pay stuff, but it's definitely something that you have to address. So those are some good ways to build.
Great things. Some great tips. Thank you, Craig. Great tips. Even Connor says thank you. So Connor says, thanks, Greg, for the info. Do you see new technology like AI affecting the mortgage industry?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I think that anyone that doesn't think it's going to affect their business is, just kind of being naive. So listen, we've been seeing it for a while. I mean, your Zillows of the world and your lead sources have, in a lot of cases, tried to override the current approach, right? Which is person to person. You can go and sell your home directly through Zillow these days, which I would not recommend, because you're not getting any expert advice. But again, they're automating everything on a daily basis. So I definitely see it having a big part in our business, where you're going to have AI that can calculate and suggest scenarios based on historical data and input. So, again, if you're not seeing this as something that's going to be, at our doorstep, I think that you're being naive. So yeah, I think it's going to definitely be playing part soon.
Awesome. Before we shift gears a little bit, anything top of mind or tip or anything you want to share with people when it comes to the industry and what you're all about with the work wise? We're going to start shifting gears into the tip wise. Before we shift gears, mortgage wise, anything top of mind people should know about, tip, trick, or we may have ran through it.
I think we ran through a lot of it. I mean, again, I just would not listen to people. Stop listening to everyone that wants to offer up advice, because a lot of times they're not giving you the best advice. Maybe they might be well intentioned, but they just don't know sometimes how these things are working on a daily basis. So I would say that's number one. Number two, I would just, again, focus on what you can control, right? So kind of what I said earlier. It starts there, right? Everything's mindset. Let's get your mindset straight. Let's figure out what you really want. And then, you go from there. That's the best advice I can give. I know it sounds pretty simple, but I think that's the best way to start.
It's great stuff, and the way you approach it is great. Because like you're bringing every aspect and the professionals that need to be involved together to help the people make an educated decision for themselves.
Absolutely.
So to learn more tips from Craig, there is again Craig's Instagram at Andriulli. So definitely check that out. All right, let's start to shift gears a little bit. So that's that's business wise and industry wise. Let's shift gears to LeTip, and what it means to you. So like, how'd you find LeTip? How'd you get involved in LeTip? Where did it all start for you?
Oh man, I think, was it 14 years ago? 15? I don't know. It's somewhere around that, right? I was introduced, and I was introduced to LeTip of Hackensack, and I applied for the group, and as the commercial loan officer, because there was a residential loan officer in the group for a while at that time. And I had to do a speak off because there was another person that came in for the commercial loan officer space, and I lost, by the way.
Wow.
Could you believe that?
We want to tell this on live television?
Right? Yeah, I listen, what's it all, right? So I lost, and then the guy backed out in like a month, and I wound up getting in. But that's how I got into LeTip. And then shortly thereafter, the residential guys, a lot of the people in the group will remember who that was. Shortly thereafter, the residential loan officer got out of the business, and that left an open chair, and I applied for that role and I got in. So it's been, again, probably like 15 years, maybe more. I'm not gonna misquote the years, but it's somewhere in that neighborhood.
Did the person who sponsored you, is they still in the group?
Frank Samperri.
Nice.
Yeah,
very
still
nice.
In the group.
Awesome.
And his hair looks amazing, by the way.
Always does.
It always does.
Always does. All right, so that's how you got into LeTip. So now the next question I ask everybody is what LeTip means to them. So what does LeTip mean to you?
Well, it's a loaded question, because for me, I mean, I really do take our group serious. I take being the president serious. I mean, I love hearing feedback that our group is so successful. And we're one of the most successful groups in the state, if not the country. So I take a lot of pride in that. I do not take that lightly. So for me, what I get out of it and what makes me continue to do it year in and year out is the people, right? I mean, you have 60 people in a room on a Wednesday morning, all eager to do more business. And it's not just about doing more business, but there's an evolution that goes along with it, right? So we have the luxury of having some people in our group that are 25 years plus, all the way down to, the most recent one is a week or two old, right? And well, not a week or two old, but like a week or two in LeTip. And that would be an abuse of child labor laws. So we have a really good range of experience, and so there is a full evolution. I think that people come in one way, and if they give it a shot, no matter how experienced they are in their business or how established they are, they come in, and I feel like there's always the people that especially stick it out and really invest into it. There's a lot of growth that comes along with it. I love that. I love seeing the dynamic of the group move in different directions and adapt, not just being stale. That's something that I think no one can accuse me of, is getting stale. So I like to challenge the group. I like to keep it fresh and change things up constantly, keep people on the toes of their feet and, on the balls of their feet, rather.
Yes. You're on your heel. You're not an athletic.
We are live, by the way. I don't know if you mentioned that. But I like to keep people, kind of guessing. And I think that keeps people sharp. And so for me, what that does for me in turn is it helps me become a better leader in my business, in the group, my family, my kids, be a better father. So I don't take it lightly. I think that these things transcend just business, so it makes, in a nutshell, it's your group becomes like a second family. I truly believe that. And you start to care for those people in ways that go beyond just, hey, I'm going to give you a piece of business, right? You want to see them succeed. So with their success, I feel, I become more successful.
Awesome. Great stuff. And the key word, which is going to lead up to our next questions, you said evolution. So when we talk about the evolution of Craig from being a member to now, being president, what has changed? What do you see things differently? How's it been being president? Why don't we talk about the evolution of Craig into the president role?
So I was like dreading it. But I did volunteer. Well, I got forcefully volunteered by Sheldon
Mm-hmm.
after he was president for a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
also he was an amazing president, right? And brought our group to a whole new level. And then, he wanted me to kind of second it and keep going in that direction. And so begrudgingly, I took the role. And out of the gate, it wasn't easy. I mean, it's a lot of extra time. It's a lot of extra effort. And, when you're trying to build a business yourself, it's not easy to juggle.
True.
But I think we've gotten into a really good rhythm. I will say that I do a lot less than I did in the beginning because I have a great team around me. I have a great board and, just the individual membership. I think everyone's attentive and they want to grow. So it's not like we're not forcing a square through a circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, I think people are there for the right reasons. And so it's a lot easier to get the results back when people are very much involved with those results and they want to obtain those same results. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So my experience has been really, really good and I do love it. I would be remiss if I didn't say that. I do actually look forward to going on Wednesday mornings and I do come out with a hell of a lot more energy. So it's become a bright spot in my week. I will say it is somewhat tiring to deal with a lot of the antics that go on behind the scenes. But it's par for the course, right? It's the nature of the beast, and that's what you got to deal with sometimes. I just delegate it now.
That's going to happen with any group that has 70 plus members and different personalities. Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be, drama and fun stuff that goes on.
There's always going to be excitement.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
Absolutely. Great stuff. So, as a seasoned vet, as the president, any tips or tricks that you like to share to a newer member or a member who's a little, not as enthusiastic?
The old squeaky wheel?
Yeah. Let's help the squeaky wheel here.
How do we oil up the squeaky wheel? All right. So first off, there's a lot, I would say for new members, let's take that one. That one's a little easier. For new members, it's what you put into it. That it's what you're going to get out of it, mm-hmm. right? So what you put into it must be a give first and take second, mm-hmm. right? Like I do truly believe that if you go in with the intention of getting to know the people around you, whether you have 15 people in your group, mm-hmm. or whether you have 70 people, mm-hmm. it's up to you to go and create relationships and traction as soon as possible. That doesn't mean that you wait to be assigned to meet with somebody. That doesn't mean that you wait until you get a piece of business to go meet with somebody. You take the initiative, and this is what I did when I was new. Was I took the initiative and I met with probably 15 to 20 people right out of the gate within the first 2 weeks. And I went to their place of work and sat with them and just learned about their business. Mm-hmm. To me, that was probably the best thing I could have did because I learned about them right out of the gate. Probably would have took me years to get that much info and know the people to that degree, mm-hmm. if I didn't do that. So for every new member, if you haven't done that, if you haven't gone and taken the initiative to meet with individual members, whether you feel they could have synergies in business or not, that's the first place you got to start. Mm-hmm. So that's number one. Number two, the squeaky wheel, right? So somebody that's been in the group for a while, maybe has been a member of LeTip for a while, maybe isn't getting as much traction, isn't getting as much business, losing that fire. Mm-hmm. One thing I'm going to say, and I know this might be controversial, is like, you got to look in the mirror because it's not everybody else, right? The group responds to what you put forward. Mm-hmm. And so if 50 other people are not responding and you're not getting business and you're upset because you don't understand why people aren't giving you business, it's time to look in the mirror. Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing if you interpret it that way. Yeah. We all have to adjust, right? Mm-hmm. We all have to change and adapt. And so what I would tell the squeaky wheel is stop, analyze what you're doing or what you're not doing, what you're saying in your commercial at the end of the meeting. If it's the same thing every week, no one's listening, right? Mm-hmm. Start something new. Focus on something more narrow as opposed to broad, right? Like a very specific avenue of business that you think could hit and land with some of the members in the group. That's what you want to deliver, right? Mm-hmm. Be more specific, not less. And go back to the first thing that I said with the new member. Go and rekindle relationships. Mm-hmm. Go and meet with them. Take time to learn again because no one's stagnant. Yeah. So I think the squeaky wheel can do a lot for themselves if they really just kind of swallowed that pill and got back on the horse, on the steed.
I like it. Great stuff. So where does Craig Andriulli want to take the chapter. What do you see the future of our chapter evolving to? What are some goals that you want to hit? Like, what do you like? Let's give us a little taste of what you're thinking the future holds for the LeTip of Hackensack.
Well, right now I think we're just over 70 members.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the exact number, but we're just over 70 members. And the most amazing part of that is that we have about 90% on average attendance per week. So you're talking about 50 some odd to 60 some odd people per
Mm-hmm.
week. That's phenomenal, by the way, because you could have 70 people,
Mm-hmm.
but if 40 show up or 30 show up or 20 show up,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter, right?
Sure.
So traction means that you have to be there first. If you're out of mind, you're out of sight, out of mind, right? So I would say my goal has always been to get to 100.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get to 100 members, but I want quality members that people know, learn to that there's a good fit from a character standpoint. You're not bringing in people that are just there to do their own thing and, don't want to be part of the larger group. But I want to get the membership up to 100. That would be probably my one primary goal, because it's not just about numbers, but if you got 25, 30 more people like-minded, think about the exponential growth that comes within each person's business if they can now access 25 more people that think the same way. So that's number one. Number two, I would say, and this might get a little technical for all those non-LeTip people, but outside tip versus inside tip, I want to get the percentage of outside tips to 50% at minimum that we give, right? So as a whole, I'd like to see more outside tips. Now, what does that mean for the people that are not involved in LeTip? It means that outside tip means that you are giving business to somebody in the group and it's someone other than you, right? You're referring a friend, a family member, a client that needs the members' services, right? I'm thinking about that person aside from when I see him at the meeting and I just need my own dry cleaning. An inside tip is when I need the services myself. It's easy to remember an inside tip because you need them.
But you get to go out and promote for someone else's help.
If you get to the outside tip, now you're promoting. I always say that if you handle the group right, then everyone in that room, 50, 60, 70 people, if you do it right, even if you just have a commercial, you're training those people to be your outside sales reps, because they're going to go out into the world, into their client base, and try to now hopefully recruit business for you. And that's an outside tip. So those are my two main goals.
Awesome. And those two main goals transition us great to the next part of this conversation. So we're talking about, if you're not a LeTip member, well, guess what? We would like to help you be a member and become one of that 100, right? So Craig, how can we do that? What's
so oddly enough, we have our annual business mixer tomorrow night, which is May 23rd. So Tuesday, May 23rd at 5:30, we're having a business mixer at Biagio's in Paramus. The full intention is to get in people that are guests that we can potentially entertain as additional members for open categories, right? So categories that we need, not that we have. But we want to bring in guests that can fill some of these categories that a lot of us would love to have filled. And we're supposed to have a really good showing tomorrow. So if you are interested and you want to get involved with one of the premier networking groups in the state, just reach out.
Don't just show up.
Don't just show up.
Don't just show up.
So just message
this page
and find out if the category is open, and we will get back to you ASAP. And if it is, then we will certainly be happy to have you come and join us and come meet some of the crew.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Do want to remind you guys that we are live. So if you have a question, comment, or concern, you put it in the comments section. We'll answer it live. This is your last chance to do so. But yeah, that's great. It's going to be a great time. We're going to have a nice little evening when normally, we're up first thing in the morning with bagels and coffee. Now we can have, maybe some pasta and drinks.
Possibly if you choose.
But, having a little bit more of a lighthearted, fun evening. So if you're definitely interested in checking out what LeTip's all about, that would be a prime time to do so.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to touch base on when it comes to LeTip?
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot. And I think that, again, the core concepts are crucial, right? So if you're there with the right intention, and if you use it and you don't just kind of rest on your laurels, right? So you could be a member for 10 years. You need to go in with a result in mind for every single meeting weekly. Go in with the goal, right? Like, what do you want out of this meeting this week? if you think about it from that perspective, you should do a ton more business because you're going to open up possibilities that you probably never even considered. I always say to people, there's been so many big pieces of business that have been done that a lot of the members in our group would never have had access to. And it could be your biggest account. And that biggest account could be lying behind that door right there. And the only way that you're going to be able to access that opportunity is if you go and knock on the door and you actually engage the person behind it. So they're not going to fall in your lap. Usually the best referral sources and opportunities are things that you have to try to find them. You have to seek them out. So that's the beauty of this group. And I think, as an organization as a whole, the beauty of LeTip is that you never know who, what, where, when that's going to happen.
Absolutely. And this with your commercial too, like if you just go and say the same commercial, I do XYZ, I do XYZ, but if you go in like I do XYZ and I'm looking for someone, I want to work with car dealerships or dentists, or I want to work, do you anyone have it? If you put it out there, there's 70 people that might have someone. You got to absolutely ask for it, right?
You become a great referral source for you, for your clients. You could trust who you're sending business to. So there's so many other reasons besides just getting business, actually sometimes even more important than just getting more business. So
love it. Great stuff. Last chance if you want to put a question in the comment section. If not, we don't get any of those. Craig, there's one thing I didn't prepare you for that we do on this.
What is that?
It's the speed round.
Oh boy.
So we're going to put on a ticker. Pat's getting that ready right now. And how the speed round works, I'm just going to rattle off questions to you and you're going to answer them first thing that comes to mind. It's nothing crazy, nothing serious. But we'll get to know you a little bit more personally. These are not business related. They're not LeTip related. Pat, are you ready?
Yep.
Craig, are you ready for the speed round?
I was born ready.
Let's do it. Here we go. All right, let me give you a little volume, Pat. We need a little volume on those. All right, here we go. Favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite food?
Oof. I'm gluten-free now, so I was going to say manicotti. But
all right.
I love
it's gonna be on the cheat day.
Meatloaf. Love meatloaf.
Meatloaf guy. All right, this is a Ted Lasso question. I don't know if you watch Ted Lasso, but he asks, first concert, best concert. So what's the first concert you went to, and then what's the best concert?
First concert I think was Paul McCartney with my parents back in like 90s, and that was at Giant Stadium. Best concert I ever went to, there's a lot of them, but I think Metallica 1996.
Wow, nice.
Load.
Were you in the mosh pit?
No. I was a freshman in high school. I don't know. My brother and I went alone. My brother was a junior. I was a freshman. My mother let us go to Madison Square Garden to a Metallica concert by herself.
Did she have a clue where you were going?
She knew. Bad parenting, Mom.
Wow.
But we survived.
Oh, man. All right. Favorite movie?
Braveheart.
Nice. Favorite show?
Last Kingdom.
Okay. Anything? Is that a streaming show?
You don't know Last Kingdom?
It sounds familiar.
Netflix?
Okay.
Utridge?
I gotta check it out. All right.
I'm disappointed in you.
I'm sorry. I'll have to check it out. So that's a streaming show. That my next show is like, what are you streaming? But that's what you're streaming. All right. Favorite hobby that has nothing to do with work or LeTip?
Favorite? I love gardening, by the way.
Really?
Vegetable gardening.
See, that's why we ask these questions.
Yeah.
What's your vegetable that you're growing?
I have a lot of them. I took over the whole backyard. Eggplant.
All right. Okay. All right. So now is this passion or is this an apocalyptic?
I think it arose from the apocalyptic ideas, but then I started loving it. I started like 2 years ago, and I honestly, it's the best de-stressor out there.
I like it. Good stuff. Favorite sport?
Baseball. No. I used to love baseball.
Okay.
Football is my favorite to watch.
Okay.
So I would say
favorite
football
to play is baseball.
Baseball's favorite to play. Well, I was really good at football too. So I'm gonna. It's a toss up. I like to watch football better.
Okay.
I think I like both the same.
Okay. So here's my next question. Sport that you had the most chance to go pro in?
Baseball.
Okay. What position do you play in baseball?
Catcher.
Okay. Nice. Good stuff. Favorite sports team?
Yankees, Giants. Yankees, Giants. Yankees,
Okay.
Giants.
All right, that was my next question. Favorite NFL team, Yankees, Giants. All right.
Best sport though, period, competitive wise, wrestling, hands down.
Okay. Were you a wrestler?
Yes.
Okay. What else we got here? Pat, you got any? Really? Thanks, Pat. All right. We did hobbies, shows, favorite artist. So we did concert, favorite music, favorite you're jamming out. Oh, I know one. What's the playlist that you listen every day when you're working?
Rocky IV. Rocky IV soundtrack. So either Rocky IV soundtrack or I listen to classical music. I love movie scores.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say.
Like big overtures.
I'll walk in and then there's
that.
just like
love it.
Badass orchestra.
I always said that
like,
if we could live our life to an actual like soundtrack, I think we'd be a lot more productive.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We would wear a lot less sweatpants.
Yeah.
And a lot less sweatpants and slides.
Yes.
People would
or
be
Crocs.
Yeah.
And or
more
Crocs.
game time.
Game time.
If you're listening to, if your life was lived to
less hybrid stuff.
Absolutely.
Great. I think you survived the speed round. Nice job, Craig.
Thank you.
Pat, last chance. You got no speed round questions for Craig?
Favorite music artist all time.
Favorite music artist all time.
Favorite music artist all time. Eddie Vedder, Pearl Jam.
Cool. Good stuff.
Or Frank Sinatra.
All right. Yeah, really close. Either one. Great stuff. Cool. No more questions in the comment section. So you passed the speed round. Any questions, comments, concerns you have for us?
Nope.
Awesome. Well, it's been great. It's been fun. You're welcome anytime. And thanks for coming in.
I appreciate the time. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to the mixer tomorrow night. Hopefully we got a lot of talent coming. And just stop worrying about the noise and just keep individually, just keep your head on straight, right? Like we're all going to get through it.
Yep.
Let's just figure it out.
Yep.
Financially and lifestyle wise and everything.
Yes. And thank you for the tips and tricks for helping us get into our dream homes. And thank you as our president, being our fearless leader and helping us take it up a notch. We appreciate you, Craig, and we appreciate all the things you do for the group. So if you would like some free, can I say this? Free tips from Craig. If you would want to talk to Craig, here's his Instagram. Go check him out at Andriulli. He puts out tons of content to help you, tips and tricks, but he's also definitely willing to sit down with you and go over your situation as a whole and helping you get in the home of your dreams.
Absolutely.
So thank you guys for watching LeTip of Hackensack live, and we will see you next time.